Hello and welcome back to the OTB channel. Today, a relatively brief video, and I'm going to look at Arch again, but I'm going to give a little bit of a shout out to a fellow YouTuber out there called Eznix, who's produced his own spin of an Arch distro that gives you the option to install Arch three ways. You can install it via calamaris if you prefer a click installation. You can install it by a script, which you can modify to suit yourself, or you can use it as a platform to do a standard Arch install using the wiki or using other documentation. Let's get into it after the intro. Okay, welcome back. So I've taken a week off, which was great. I've been playing about with a number of little Raspberry Pi projects, but I've also had a nice break from shaving as much as anything else, as you can see. And I was going to take another week off today because I said I'd probably not produce a video for a couple of weeks. But I got up this morning and I went to one of the YouTube channels where I am subscribed and I do follow. And it's a channel by a guy called Eznix. Not sure what his real name is, but Eznix. And I try and keep up with what he's producing because Eznix produces a number of different spins. He produces a Debian spin, and he also produces an Arch spin. And he is constantly releasing new tweaked versions. Now, it's a little bit different to your standard spin, in as much as he does it for a hobby. He's not really interested in it being mass adopted. Nevertheless, I've always been really impressed at just how much flexibility he builds into the distro. He only ever has one version up there. He's done XFCE at one point, a Mate desktop after that. And this morning I see he's released the latest version of Ezarcher, that's what he calls the distro, with a Plasma desktop. The point is, though, you don't have to use it to install Plasma. He gives you the option. He's built calamaris into the live CD, so if you want the Plasma desktop, you want to copy what's on the live system, you can use calamaris and just next. Or you can use his documentation, which he provides on the live system, to do an Archway install. So you open a terminal, you log in as root, open the Arch wiki, and follow along in the terminal, or you can even copy and paste from the documentation that he provides. So that gets you as vanilla Arch as you want. The third method that he uses is with a script. It's a script that installs the packages that he personally likes and installs it in a way that he personally likes. So it doesn't give you, a multitude of choices unless you modify the script. But of course you are free to modify a script. It's just a standard bash script and you can tailor it to however you like. And then it's a case of installing Arch just through a text-based interface where you just move from menu item to menu item. So for those of you who like calamaris, brilliant. For those of you who prefer to do an Archway install, but would quite like the support of having a GUI up so that you can have a web browser up alongside your terminal and just copy and paste, it works for that as well. And for those of you who like a script-based install, it does that as well. I swap and change between all of these different methods, and when I'm feeling particularly lazy, I tend to have gone for Endeavour OS. But, I've looked at Ezarcher again today, and This is a great ISO because it gives you the choice. I'm not really interested in a plasma desktop. I like his script install, which seems to work really well. But before we do it, and what I'll do is I'll launch his live CD and take you through it, let's have a quick look at the Ezarcher website. He has it up on SourceForge and also his YouTube channel. Right, so here we are. I've got the Eznix YouTube channel page open. I can't believe, to be honest, that he's only got 4,500 subscribers. He's got hundreds of videos on here, many more than I have. I think I'm not even at 150 yet. And you can see his latest video there, Ezarcher KDE Plasma Edition. And he does a huge amount of videos on producing this, not only in terms of, how you can install it and how you can use his scripts, but also how you can go about producing your own ISO if you wish. And he provides all sorts of templates so that you can actually do that. So please, guys, a lot of the people who subscribe to my channel also subscribe to Eznix. And if you enjoy what I do, I think you'll certainly enjoy what Eznix does. We're both similar in the sense that we're not millennials who talk at 2,000 miles per hour. So probably those people who like that sort of, 10-minute delivery, bang, 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 are going to hate both of us. But if you like a considered, more thoughtful approach, go and subscribe. He really deserves it. If you want to download his ISO, well, it's available in a number of places. I've just gone to the page with his latest ISO there, and it can be downloaded from SourceForge, archive.org, or osdn.net. And on the SourceForge page itself, it's the Ezarcher page, and so he tells you what's what. And if you go into the files section there, I just wish it wasn't on SourceForge, to be honest. I just find it pretty slow to download anything. You have the templates for creating your own ISO. He provides everything as far as calamaris is concerned. His guides there, so you know how to install Arch in the Arch way. He provides his scripts there that you can modify. Lots of documentation, and of course the ISO is also available, and he produces an MD5 file so that you can verify exactly what the score is. So easy to get. It's a YouTube channel that's really worth watching, but if you like Arch, and let's face it, a lot of you do at the moment, it's one ISO to explore because it doesn't pinhole you into a particular installation method. You can do your own thing to an extent. So enough of that. Let's launch the live CD and let's see what it does. Right, so what you should see on your screen now is Ezarcher, the ISO, the live ISO that I've just booted. I've booted it in UEFI mode because I want to install a UEFI system. It booted fine, there was no problem in VirtualBox. The key thing here, though, really, is although this is a plasma desktop that you see, Ezarcher is almost a platform so that you can install Arch however you want to install it, which is the great thing about it. And since Eznix has been producing these ISOs, I think he started off with XFCE. The last version was Mate, which I liked. And the thing that's really triggered me to have a look at this again, apart from the fact that I was intending to do so anyway, is the fact that I watched one of his videos this morning, and he's produced his latest spin with the Plasma desktop. Now, if you want to retain the Plasma desktop, that's absolutely fine. You can do that. You can do a standard calamaris install, and you can essentially replicate what you see on the live system. And I'll do that at the end of this. But you've actually got a few ways that you can install Arch using this system. And this really is the key, I think, to Easy Arch, that it's not a one platform system. Is that the right word? I'm not exactly sure. It's I suppose, a platform where you can choose how you want to do this. So if you want a straightforward calamaris install of Arch and you want to end up with the something similar to the live system, basically Plasma, well, it has that option. It also gives you the option to do a standard wiki type install. So all you would do for this is you would open a terminal and you would log in as root, and Eznix sets the root password as root spelt backwards. I think that's Tor, T-O-O-R. Yeah, all good. And then if you go into, the home folder, you'll see a folder there called Easy Arch, and there's a folder inside that called Guides. And you can look there, and there's 3 documents: Arch install with BIOS and a GPT disk, Arch install with BIOS and an MBR disk, and Arch install UEFI with a GPT disk. And if you open that up, the one that you want, I'm just opening the EFI one there, essentially you've got full instructions there and the commands that you can just paste into the terminal to do an Archway install. Or if you'd rather do your own thing, from the terminal, I mean, you can just launch a web browser, go to the Arch wiki, and you can install Arch from the terminal here. For those of you who have been watching my channel for a while, you'll also know that I did a video some time ago where I've produced my own document, which is on my GitLab page, which is again a sort of copy-paste version of a wiki install. I do need to update that. I think the enable cups command has been updated since, so I'll get that sorted. But bottom line is, open a terminal, follow one of Eznix's install documents if you like, so you can copy-paste, take mine if you prefer, or just follow the wiki. The big advantage of doing it this way is that you're not stuck just with a terminal. You've got a live system that you're using, so you can open up a web browser, you can have the Arch wiki, on one side of the screen, the terminal on the other side of the screen, and you can just paste across. It makes life easier. In fact, when I produced my script, what I actually did to make things easier was I SSH'd into a standard Arch install using the Arch ISO, so that I had a little bit more control and I could actually see my instructions, my document that I was pasting directly across. So standard Arch, really vanilla, because you're just installing it via the wiki or via Eznix or my document. So that's great. So that's one of the options that you've got. Also, so that's in the guides folder there. You've also got another folder called scripts, and these are automated scripts. So you've got a script there for a BIOS system if you want to install that. You've got a script there for a UEFI system, and you've got a maintenance script there that's been put together by Eznix. So all good. Now, if you go into these scripts, so let me just open up the Easy Arch UEFI script. You will see right at the beginning that by default, the script sets the locale to Phoenix in the States. It sets the locale to US, and it sets the key map to US. Now, clearly, unless you're in the US and in that particular locale, that may not be what you want. And if that is the case, it's dead simple. Just copy that, drop a version of the script into the home directory here. So I've pasted ezarch.uefi and modify the script to suit your locale. You can also go through that script and you can modify various bits and pieces. By default, from memory, you get a couple of options for the size of your root partition, a couple of options for the size of your swap partition, and I think it creates a home partition by default. But actually, I'll link in a card at the top of this screen, in the last video where I looked at Ezarch and I specifically looked at the script, it's quite easy to just create your own partitions however you want to do them, mount them manually, and then run the script to do all the rest of the work for you. So, pretty easy. Eznix has a selection of software that he installs. Let me just open this up again, kwrite, and you can work through it. It's just a standard bash script, and you can modify any bits of this that you see fit, to be honest. But as we come down, I'm not used to kwrite, you can see various things here where, you know, if we're installing KDE, it installs a certain number of programs, etc., etc. And you can pick and choose. These scripts give you the option to install whatever desktop environment you want, which is absolutely great. So you can do an Archway install, but with help, because you can copy and paste direct from the wiki or from a document. You can do a semi-automated script-like install, which gives you some flexibility as far as the desktops that you want to install, or you can do the calamaris install. So let's just do a calamaris install and see what that looks like to start off with. I'm not going to do the whole system to take you through the whole process. I'll just do the install now, reboot, and show you where we're up to with that. So unfortunately, there isn't an installer on the desktop, but it's not really a big problem. Go into the menu, under System, you'll find Install System there. We need to enter a password. The default password is live, and this should launch calamaris. The calamaris is fairly straightforward. Eznix has been spending a lot of time playing with the different versions to make sure that they work. But I'm just going to get on with the install now. You've all seen these many, many times, and we'll come back once I've booted. Okay, so the installation completed without a problem, a standard calamaris install. This is the install system that you can see in front of here. So let me just open a terminal very quickly. It's console, and let's just see how this is set up. So if I maximize that, and there we go, OTB at VirtualBox. I'll just do a sudo fdisk-l, and we'll see what we've got. And in actual fact, what we have is something fairly straightforward here. It hasn't created a separate home partition. I don't use one. That's good. It's created a 600 meg EFI partition, and I've got a 31.4 gig standard Linux partition, ext4, I believe. So, all good. Now, I'm not going to go through this. It is what it is. I should just say that by default, the AUR isn't enabled, but it's easy enough to install something like Yay and enable it and put per Mac in if you want. But you've got the base system here, and it's pretty much as vanilla as you're going to get, although it has got a selection of Eznix's preferred applications in. You have at least got a web browser and so on, and you've got printing enabled. Right, so let's go back to the live ISO and let's have a look at the script-based install. Right, so I've just rebooted, I wiped the drive, and I'm into the live system again. And this time, let's do one of the script-driven installs. So I went into the Ezarcher folder. I went into the UEFI script, I copied it into the home directory of the live user, and I've made a couple of little changes here. Basically, I've changed the time zone and the language and the key map to reflect the fact that I'm in the UK. So, okay, good. And I've logged in here as root. So if I do an ls, you can see that ezarch.uefi is there in the home directory of the live user. So I'm just going to launch that. And here we get an interactive script. I'm going to run through this. So you can see you've got some choices there: username, password, hostname, choose your device type, install the base system. Whilst it's doing its installing, I will just pause and move on. So we'll just make this very quick. So I want to set my username to start off with. So that takes me to a submenu, create username. I want to do OTB. Thank you. Username set to OTB. Make root password. Right. Now here you've got to be careful because you don't get the stars. So I will pause this to make sure that you can't see. Okay, so that's my root password done. Again, I'll now set up my user password and pause this again so you don't see. And last but not least, make a host name. So I'll type 4. And what should we call this? OTB Arch. There you go, as good as anything else. Right, and return to the main menu. So I just hit R. Choose device type and partition drive. So number 2, is it a SATA disk or is it an NVMe disk? Well, it's going to be a SATA disk because essentially I'm using VirtualBox. On real hardware, if you're using an NVMe drive, you'd use the second option. Right, enter device name. Okay, well, I know it's SDA, so I'm just going to type SDA. Invalid answer. That's because I should have chosen 1. Right, I thought as much. Right, so it gives me the different ones that I've got there. There's a loop device, there's the SR0, which is the ROM drive, but it's SDA that I want. So let's type SDA now. Device set to SDA. Right, so choose swap partition size. So let's go to 2. You only get some options here, a few options. So let me set 4 here. So 4G. So swap partition set to 4G. Set the root partition size. You don't have many options, 20, 40 or 60. I think I've only got a 32 gig virtual drive here. So I'm just going to select 20 gig. And I think the remaining room on the disk will be set to my home partition. And it says there, remaining space will be home. So I need to now just create the partitions. So straightforward enough. Number 4, let's create the partitions. Partitions created. Format the partitions. So number 5, format. And mount the partitions. Number 6. All good. Return to main menu. And install the base system. So I'm just going to type 3 and let it do its thing. We'll be back in a second. Right, so that's the base system installed. So we move on to the next option, configure the system settings. So I simply type 4. It's generating the locale GB, so that's good. I missed whatever there was in red there. So on to the next one. 5, install broad categories of software. So 5. I want to install Xorg, so I'm just going to go through these in order, and we're going to come back after each step. That's Xorg install, so moving on to number 2. And again, we'll come back in a second. That's the general category installed now, so we just move on again and type 3 and go on to multimedia. You can see what it's doing here. I've just let it run for a few seconds. It's boring to watch, so we'll pause this and come back in a second. So I'm sure you've got the idea now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go on next to look at networking, fonts and printing. Then we'll return to the menu and we'll look at how we install the desktop. Right, so that didn't actually take long, and it was just a case of working through each option. So I'm now back at the main page. I've installed my broad categories of software, so it's time to choose the desktop that I want. And you have some defaults here. As you can see, LXQT, Plasma, XFCE, Mate, Cinnamon or GNOME. Okay, well, I'm going to pick, you won't be surprised to hear, Mate. We'll do that. You can see it's just automatically installing everything that's needed. Once that's finished, we'll install Grub, and I'll show you what the system is once it's all finished. Right, so Mate is installed now, so let's do the last step and just install Grub. And I have to say, it couldn't really be simpler. Yes, it's a text-based install, but it's just a case of picking each section. There's nothing else to worry about, really. Just go from one menu item to the next menu item and work your way through. And as you can see, it's just automatically doing what it needs to do. And we're getting to the point where we'll be able to reboot, and we should have a full vanilla Arch system, albeit with the packages that Eznix has chosen, which are modifiable through his script. And I should say that what I noticed automatically while it was installing was the Broadcom driver is installed as part of this process, which is great for those of you who have that annoying wireless chip. So we're finished. Let me reboot. Let's see where we're up to. And here we are. We're booted into our brand new Mate system. As simple as that. Let's just run lsblk to see what's been set up. And you can see we've got a 650 meg EFI partition, 4 gig of swap, a 20 gig root partition, and the remainder, 7.4 gig, has been set as our home partition. So that is that. Right, so Ezarcher. I've used this a few times. Do you know, I don't know why, really, I keep defaulting to the likes of Endeavour when something like Ezarcher exists. And if I'm honest, I think I keep forgetting it. I forget just how flexible it is. Because although I think Endeavour is a great ISO and a really nice distribution, I personally like something closer to vanilla, and so I tend to strip out customizations and things like that. And the Ezarcher ISO lets me go the script route, and I do modify the script slightly, and I can do my own thing, but I can do my own thing really quickly without thinking too hard about it. So I would highly, highly recommend that everyone give it a try if you want to install Arch. And please go and subscribe to Eznix's channel. That's going to be it for today, guys. A relatively short video. I've had an interesting week. I've had my jab last weekend. I will say that it did knock me out for a day, just feeling a bit achy and fluey, but all over and done with. And my wife's had it as well later in the week, and she felt something similar. I've played around with Raspberry Pi. My main thing, which took a bit of doing actually, I've got a full Bitcoin node running at the moment, and I'm in the process of setting up something called a Lightning network as well, which has been great fun. But that's it for today. Please, guys, come and join me on the Facebook group. Please come and have a look at Library. If you haven't tried it before, it's worth having a look. Obviously, I've got my Patreon page up there, and thank you, guys. I'll throw up all your names in a second. What I wanted to say is, well, I've sort of moved over in terms of web browsers, and I've been giving the Brave web browser a try, and I'm actually quite impressed. And you know that I've been interested in crypto, so it made sense because you get these cryptocurrency tokens for simply watching some little advert notifications come up. And I'm gathering them quite nicely. I also made sure that my YouTube page was verified on Brave, and I didn't really expect to see it, but I see quite a few of you have been dropping me a few tokens along the way, which is much appreciated, so thanks very much. So I'll probably talk about that in the weeks to come. But guys, I mean, as always, I hope you enjoyed the video. It was quite a short one. Let me just drag over my Patreons, and if I could just thank all of you, including the newest member, David Van Tongaloo. I hope I've got your name right there, David. But we've got Robert, Gary, Aristotelis, Stormpick Stephen, Mike, David, Richard, Ty, Forrest, Patrick, Glenn, Magnus Skipper, John M, and of course David, the newest member. Thanks very much, guys, and I'll see you next week.